Hey everybody, before we begin, a quick note about this episode's format. Due to a technical issue during post-production, the video file for this interview did not save correctly, but fortunately, the full audio was preserved. So, to make sure this conversation could still be shared, this episode will feature the original audio accompanied by alternate visuals. I'm still learning and refining the technical side of production and post-production, and I appreciate your guys' patience as I work through these challenges. My goal is to always present these conversations in the best way possible, and future episodes will continue to improve as the series grows. Now that that's out of the way, let's begin. Hello, everybody. Welcome to... Oops, I just popped my computer. Hello, welcome to...
Yeah, it's all good.
Friday. Welcome to Voices and Visions, an interview series exploring the minds behind the stories we love. Artists, performers, creators who bring worlds to life through voice, imagination, and craft. I'm Dale Graves, and this episode we are sitting down with a different type of creator. Last two episodes we've had voiceover actors. We've had Kevin Howard and Andy Cowley. This time we are diving into the world of Dungeons and Dragons and even Dungeons and Dragons creation.
Yay!
My guest, please introduce himself.
Hello there, everybody. My name is Dice&Autism, and I tell stories on the internet. That is my tagline and everything. I am a D&D autistic TTRPG content creator and everything. I do stream and everything where I play video games and have my own campaign going on with new Rollis, which is we also have a actual play channel called Tales Guild and everything. But no, yeah, I predominantly tell like silly D&D skits and also very sad D&D videos and everything. So howdy.
Hi. Also, yes, hello for all the autistic content creators, including myself.
Cool.
So for anyone discovering you for the first time, how would you describe what you do under the name Dice&Autism?
Pretty much kind of like a little bit of a slice of like hyper version of the D&D slash TTRTB TTRPG experience of like both hilarious and goofiness, but also heart-wrenching stories and everything. It's both the extreme happiness and the extreme sadness and emotions that you experience within these sessions that you do and everything. And I generally tell just like skits that just usually come from the situations or just like what ifs and everything, and also just weaving my own story using the D&D system as sort of kind of like a template with the characters I've written for them and everything. So yeah.
Let's like take it back to the beginning. What originally drew you to Dungeons and Dragons as a storytelling medium?
So I did got my first experience with the TTRPG back in college with Pathfinder first edition, and I was really enjoying it. And because like I was going for theater major and everything, and when my friend introduced it, because he was like a film major, and I was like, oh, this is like basically improv, and I am an improv fiend and everything. So I was like really into it and everything. And then I got really sick, really sad with my mental state and everything. Took a whole break and all that. Then when the pandemic happened, everything, one of my friends from like high school messaged me. He's like, hey, you want to play like D&D with us and everything? And it's like, is it anything like Pathfinder? And he was like, yeah. And we played a full campaign from 1 to 20, which was a lot of fun. And then I started like watching Critical Role and everything. And then with also the pandemic going on, there was also a bunch of the like D&D TikTok compilations that was showing up on my YouTube feed. And I was like, this looks cool. This looks really cool. I want to try to do this. This is like a balance of both like humor and like serious writing and acting work that I've always strived to like do with balancing and everything. And the first few videos of any creator are gonna be kind of like, but it's all about growing pains and everything, like finding your groove and everything. And there were creators I really vibed with, like watching the videos and really getting inspired, like Mars is Not Crow, Pictures of Lore, Sarah's Coffee, and watching their stuff, which is both like very storytelling-esque and also freaking hilarious and everything. I was like, yeah. And I was also like reading through a whole bunch of like things and like memes of D&D memes of saying that Fighters is boring, and I got angry because I really like Fighters. Okay, look,
Yeah.
Fighters are amazing. Okay,
Yes.
any class in D&D is amazing or not bad. You just have kind of like a narrow vision of what they are and do. You need to expand your creativity just a little bit, And I was like, all right, cool. I'm gonna make a sad fighter video, a sad video that involves a fighter and everything, and that popped off, and I was like, oh, okay. And people were asking like, what would happen? What was going on with it? And then it just got more and more. And then I duetted a video from Patriots of Lore's like characters and stuff with Darcy and everything. And then me and Patriots of Lore, we got talking, and it was like, hey, we both like each other's stuff and everything. So what if? And then it just sort of like kept on going and going. And I was just like, and then somehow everyone was like, hey, we like your stuff. And I'm like, me? Because as I have always loved writing and everything, and I've always struggled to like find like a bit of an audience for like my writing and everything. So it was so refreshing and just like cathartic to have like an audience suddenly appear up out of nowhere after like looking around. And then yeah, that's pretty much about it.
First off, yes, like don't narrow your perspective of D&D classes.
Exactly.
I see a lot of the skits were like the skits that you've done, like just like make like making fun, like it's kind of making like other classes making fun of the ranger class as being the worst class in D&D.
Yeah, I am a fan of like the deconstruction of things and everything, but not like deconstructing it to the point of like being cynical about it and being like, oh, look, it's more of kind of like, okay, these are the usual tropes that they're associated with it. Why not like deconstruct why those tropes are associated with those things and actually put them in a light that isn't just like skewed, filtered, and I don't want to say polluted or corrupted. Just like the misconception of like all the jokes and memes and everything. Because like having memes on like things and everything is nice and fun when you remember like the sacred text of the holy materials of like, yeah. And when you have people who legitimately take them like seriously and all that, that's when I get kind of angry. Well, not angry, just annoyed. It's like, guys, come on, just come on. Like you can throw like friendly jabs and everything, but when you start taking it seriously, the memes are like the actual laws of it. It's like, no.
All right. So, at what point did you realize I'm not just playing D&D, I'm building something serialized?
Yeah. God, I think it was the moment when people were asking for more of the story. That is when I was like, yes, absolutely. It was the call I have been waiting for and prepared all of my life. So it's just like, heck yeah, let me grab my suit, my cape, everything. It's already polished and all that. Just gotta dust up a few things. Ready to go. But no, it was very, very refreshing and just like great to see, like I've said before. And like I think it really solidified something when I was doing with Belvy, the bard who's also a warlock and who his partner was a dragon and everything, because it's the classic D&D meme. The bard seduces a dragon and everything. And I'm like, actually, you know what? Let's make that a good story. Let's make that a good story. Doing that mini little backstory arc with Belvy meeting Odoleth and then her death and everything and all that process, that is when things really kind of like solidified of like, crap, they're like super invested. Okay, cool.
Awesome. All
Yeah.
right. So let's talk about a couple of your iconic storytelling. One of them
Yeah.
being the Fighter Saga and Pact of the Father. Can you tell me a
Yeah.
little bit about those?
Yeah, so Fighter Saga is very much kind of like your very typical lighthearted but also serious storytelling. It's kind of very much just kind of like your typical fantasy adventure and all that, kind of like going through these characters. Had I planned and everything, it was just kind of like, all right, I'll have like these kind of like characters until when I got them fleshed out and everything. I very much realized with like the Fighter Saga, it is like with like the original crew and everything, it was very much of them kind of being aware of the mask they were wearing with each other, even though they were like great friends and everything. They still had their mask they all wore and everything. Like with Belvy, he was very cheerful and everything and always has a good time and all that. But again, he's also sad, but he's the person who's also always been like embracing it and everything and not like being ashamed or sad with it. LaRue being very much the person who they're like, crap, I have these feelings. What are these feelings? Okay, I'm gonna just stuff them down and everything. And then like on the mask of like, well, that tragedy happened. That is all my fault and everything because I did this one particular thing or I couldn't do this other particular thing. And like wearing this mask of like, if I only did something else. And then with like, I feel like it's very much pillar with the theme of like masking when it comes to Mariah and Orlean. They are very much two sides of the same coin. Their backstories are very, very similar. They fell for very big propaganda, with Orlean being kind of like with Knight of like the and Mariah believing that his church was like kind of like a good guy and everything. And both of them realizing, oh crap, I was kind of a monster with all of that and everything. So it was like one of the two different paths they could have taken everything. With Orlean, very much of being like, hey, I have sort of like survivor's guilt and of all the things I've done and everything. I'm just gonna stuff that down, keep a smile on my face and everything, and just sort of like go out my way. And with Mariah, when he was an Oathbreaker and everything, it was very much like, I'm not going to forget everything that I've done and everything. And Orly is also the same thing. He's not gonna forget everything that he's done and everything. That's why he wears the hat from like the halfling that died in front of him and stuff. But with Mariah, it's like, I'm going to be an Oathbreaker just for my torture and penance for all the crap I've done. And like he's like totally embracing of like, oh, that feeling, but not giving them that chance to like move on and gradually kind of like forgive himself and everything. And with like the newer generation, it's very much of them going ahead of like learning from their parents that, hey, it's okay to be unmasked and everything. And yeah, even though with you guys still seeing the examples that we place and still kind of like falling for those things and all that with like Rainin and with like with the Crown Fiend and with all the guilt and like the depression and sadness of losing his mom and dad and everything and all that stuff. And it's just like very much of sort of just kind of like, yeah, the world's a little bit chaotic, but there is still some control we can do within the chaos we can do. And with Pack the Father, that was sort of supposed to be like a one-off bit and everything. I didn't realize that everybody was going to be demanding more because I made that on my second round of college and everything as a throwaway joke of like, okay, I need to think of something because like brain, college, stress, anxiety, depression, and I was also kind of struggling a little bit of like trying to figure out what stories to do with the Fighter Saga and everything. And it was sort of like a breath of fresh air of being this almost, I don't want to say a satire and everything. No, Pact of the Father isn't very much a satire. It's kind of like one of those very goofy comedy shows that that allows itself to like have the comedy that is based around the character's personality, but allows themselves to grow and still keep along with it, and also allows itself to be serious as well and stuff. Because that's the kind of comedy shows I do like, kind of like with like how Frasier does and everything. with its comedy and its storytelling and things. Like I love Frasier because it's freaking hilarious and everything, but there's also so many great moments of character growth and development and everything, and yet they still do their typical jokes and all that, but you still see the growth they've made throughout the entire series and everything. And so that was like I had in mind with it when people were saying like, oh, this is great and glorious, and how people were resonating with like Ura being like the healthy overprotective dad who has unconditional love. And also just like, oh, yes, you have been abandoned and everything? Well, have no fear. The devil of love will take you in. And also, have you met my partner, Olivia, the goddess of vengeance? If you have been spited by some people, she will go ahead and kick their asses for you. So very much that. It's very much kind of like a show for Pact the Father of that unconditional feeling of stuff that you sort of felt like the world hasn't given you, and saying it's okay to have those feelings that have never been with you. Because with like Knox never really having kind of like their own purpose of their own decisions and everything, Philip kind of being very grumpy and sort of like not revenge focused. Well, he is very revenge focused, but he's been allowing himself very much times to like sort of be more of himself, especially when he's at the Tipsy Maiden, like doing his like cooking shifts and everything with Morgana. You see a little bit more of himself in there, where he's just kind of like very like just like having good times in there. And with Kala, very much, Kala's my absolute favorite. Just like, because Kala, it had kind of like the overbearing parent, kind of like Villa, but with her mom and everything, it was very much like, you need to do what I've done, what our family's done and everything and all that and everything. Like, it wasn't really much of a choice that she was given, but her dad being kind of like the con artist person and being kind of like, hey, you do what makes you happy and everything. And also, if you're going to con people, con the jerks, con the people who have the way too much money and don't use it for like anything else and all that stuff. So yeah. And Villa is very much, since he's kind of like not been, they've been overexposed with like Ura's like very unconditional love, and he very much appreciates it and everything, but he's also very much just kind of like, I want to be able to spread my wings a little bit and just get a little bit dirty and get a few scrapes and bruises without like a whole like medical team like putting me in a pod and just like doing all this stuff to make me feel better when it's just like a little paper cut and everything. So
do you outline long arcs in advance, or do they just evolve organically?
It's a little bit of both. I do have ideas for like long arcs and everything. I do have a sets of long arcs that I want to do for each character to explore more of their personality, more of their story, and kind of like go more in depth with them. And sometimes when I do I do have like these one-off ideas that do kind of like a nice reflection of like the inner workings of their brain, of being kind of like how they react to certain things when other people they're around with aren't around them and all that. But sometimes, again, like when a one-off will hit and everything, and your brain just kind of goes like, wait, actually, that's kind of like a cool idea. Because with Callan, the Prince of the Emperor for the Rosier Empire and everything, with like the whole like the Chaos Crew going to like his wedding, and then his fiance turning out to be a succubus and like wrecking that wedding and everything. I was like, eh, that's kind of like a funny joke and everything and all that. But my brain was kind of like was thinking like throughout the years and everything. And it wasn't until like a few months ago I was like, huh, we kind of did that as a joke. But what if? But what if it's like, like there has to be sort of like a reason for it and everything, because like getting first into D&D and TTRPGs, you kind of like get like the face value of like, yeah, like certain things are like typically evil and all that stuff, and then you kind of realize, crap, that's kind of really bad. That's really bad and problematic. And realizing that, I've kind of been like looking through my stuff and everything and kind of like going like, okay, yeah, we could probably fix that and everything. And then was like with that little one and everything, I was always very much in how I kind of like very much evolved the demons in like Odalise in the Fire Saga world of how they are created by people's emotions of like of what they wanted to feel when they were alive and stuff and everything. Kind of like with Banville and with Belvy's patron, who was the fiend of the abandoned of He's Been Born, of everyone that has felt abandoned by their loved ones, and how he went to like the heavens and be like, hey, I want to be like with you guys, and they were just like, no. That kind of like started up the chain reaction of like, okay, so what if they're very much like the emotions part and everything and all that, and like emotions are like very, very scary compared to like ideals and structures and stuff. So I was thinking of that, and I was like, okay, so Safri, Callan's fiance, that was the succubus. I was thinking like, okay, she probably had like those thoughts going on her head of like, okay, I'm a succubus. Succubus are known for like dreading life of people and all that, but like wanted to have that feeling of like love and all that, and having that with Callan, and just getting scared of like, is Callan going to be able to like handle all the stuff being associated with like and all that and everything, and just like that fear and everything and all that. And I wanted to go in depth with that, and just also have a little Ura cameo in there as well, as being kind of like the conscious figure of like, what are you doing? Go after that man. You're denying yourself happiness. Do it, goddammit. Yeah.
Do you write scripts fully before filming, or are you discovering beats during performance, or are you improvising?
For Fighter Saga, I sort of very much do have like a beat structure in my head of like what to film, how to film it, and it's always based on like what like sound that really much reflects to like the storytelling. Because with Fighter Saga, it's very much the implement of like how silent films were kind of made and everything, where you don't have like the able to like talk and like use your voice to like emotions and everything. Like the music is sort of like kind of like the sort of sets the tone, even though like in movie making you're not supposed to like do that and everything. But kind of like in short film, like not short, like kind of like in silent films, they're very much kind of like the set dressing and everything, and relying on the body structure and everything. But with a Pact the Father and all that, I do write scripts and everything just to keep it more clear in my head, because being sort of kind of like a person that just like goes by the seat of my pants when writing things, of just like full improv in the brain, all that stuff and everything kind of goes like, yeah. But now it's very much like, okay, we get the raw material out there, get a basic shape out there, cool, let's chisel this out, get some details in to like work out, especially if it's like an arc and everything that I really want to like do and do justice. So yeah.
Nice. What is the hardest part about telling a continuing story in bite-sized installments?
I don't. Oh, that's kind of hard. Whew. That's a good one. I don't. I think it's very much of like, I think it's very much being aware of the limitations that you have and everything, and like the pressure, not the pressure, sort of like that needling sensation in your head of like, kind of need more to convey these things, kind of need more to convey these things, like need more flash, need more pizzazz, need more props and everything. But I've always learned from like the beginning, and like especially with now and everything, that you don't need the very big fancy stuff to like do those things. Like theater of mind is a gameplay style for a reason and everything. People will like go along with you if you also are 100% willing to go in the set rules of it yourself and everything. And there's also the adage of like, you know, that limitations do breathe creativity and everything, and it does, it very much does and everything. So I think that yeah.
So short form platforms like TikTok and oftentimes YouTube Shorts often reward quick payoff. So how do you balance immediate humor with long-term emotional setup?
I think very much so of like that was kind of like the problem in the beginning and everything when becoming like a short form content creator and everything of like because it's that quick instant gratification and everything and then people will just kind of be like scroll on and everything and realizing that pretty quickly I've just been kind of like set the mood of the audience of like hey, eyes on me, eyes on me, eyes on me. There's gonna be a long form stuff and everything. We're gonna be here for a while and all that stuff. This is what everything's gonna be expected and everything, and just sort of like not training the audience, just like setting their expectations of like the durations of the stuff and everything, and being clear with that. And there's always like the pressure of going ahead and like trying to cram everything so that way people will like get like that gratification and like that hierarchy, but like slow and steady wins the way race and everything. I have being a manga fan and like keeping up with like serialized like weekly mangas and like monthly mangas and everything. I sort of learned how to like keep up that pace and rhythm for like these short form videos and everything because they're very much like chapters in your like favorite series of like Dragon Ball Z or Jujutsu Kaisen, D Gray Man, everything. Favorite one, by the way, underrated masterpiece. Sorry.
You're good.
Yeah, but like learning how like the artists and the writers are able to like keep people coming within like a 17 pages and kind of like setting things up for like the next chapter and kind of like also kind of like ticking in the box of like things that are going to be happening with this next big arc for the overarching story and everything. And then also learning that, hey, sometimes you don't get all that opportunity to like tell out the full fleshed out story that you had in mind and everything, and working with that limitations when you get like the early cancellation and all that, or just realizing that, hey, this set of story doesn't really have that much gas left, and very much just like saying like, hey, nothing else to really tell and everything. Kind of like how Yu Yu Hakusho did with like in the nearing the end and everything, how like Togashi was very much kind of like, even though we were like in the climactic like arc of like the whole series with like trying to crown who was going to rule the hells and everything, but he was like, I got nothing left, and he just said that, wrote it off the way he was going to write it, and now he's like doing his best with Hunter x Hunter when he can and everything. So it's like, yeah, pretty much that.
So aside from the like storytelling aspects of like the Fighter Saga and Pact of the Father, you also have a bunch of other D&D skits revolving around a lot of the classes with a lot of humorous banter here and there. And there are some jokes, and there's some jokes in there as well. How do you decide when a joke should stay a joke and when should it turn into character development?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. I kind of feel like for me and everything, I feel like the jokes and everything should be a sort of form of character development on their own. Like the jokes and comedy should be based on the characters and stuff. Because nothing more gets me angry when I see one of my favorite characters on a TV show like say a joke and everything for the sake of the joke, and it's a joke that they would never actually say. And it's kind of like, I just want to be the fly on the wall in the writer's room, appear, slap the person who wrote that joke, and be like, why would you do that? And everything. And yeah, I think, especially with like Pact the Father and everything, you do get such a sense of like the character's personality with the way how they tell their jokes and how they deliver it and how they react to other people's jokes, of like how like very much like how everybody has their own degree of like what the hell to Kala when she has these ideas of like, yeah, I'm gonna run the scam thing here, and well, Nox very much like, maybe we shouldn't be doing that, and Villa's kind of like, well, it kind of depends, and be like, and Philip is just kind of like, Are they assholes? And when it comes to like the regular skits and everything, it's very much just sort of kind of like how comedy can also be kind of like a commentary on like things and all that. Because there'll be sometimes in topics when D&D things comes up and everything where it's a little bit zany of itself and everything. It's all so it's kind of like poking fun at like the zaniness of like kind of like certain like tropes or situations that usually happens in a D&D or TTRPG group and all that and everything, and just kind of like post into the wall and kind of be like, yeah, this is kind of funny, but also kind of makes you just think just a little tiny bit. At least that's what I would hope and everything. I'm not trying to be like a hyper intellectual elitist person that comes with these things, but I think it is kind of like a lost art to think about when it comes to comedy, that how we think that it's just sort of just like, hey, you're just telling jokes and everything, but like those jokes do have a purpose and everything. They are layered and born out of like a single ideal that you're making fun of, and that making fun of is still a critique of something that's going on and stuff. So like that subconsciously is still like a critique, and like being aware of it even as a writer or a performer and everything, that's just gonna like level up your like writing just to like the millionth 10th degree and everything.
Nice. All right, so we're gonna shift gears just a little bit. So
Okay.
you're open about being autistic.
Yes.
How has that shaped your storytelling voice?
Very much so. Very, very much so. Because I always knew I was like, fun fact, I didn't knew I was autistic till sophomore year of high school when my ex-girlfriend came up to me and told me, why did you tell me you were autistic and everything? So I was just like, and then just like everything just kind of like the mind gaze of just like, oh shit, I am and everything. That all that stuff that I went to meetings for and everything, that makes a whole lot of sense now. Oh, okay. But it was kind of like that self-discovery of like, okay, cool. I want to be able to tell these things with my stuff and everything. And then learning about like being autistic within like the media I consume, and how like the general public in those media kind of like depict autistic people, and also how like other people and other like biases and like stuff that kind of sucks with like being autistic with other communities in the autism spectrum. like like I started noticing like later on after like high school and everything of like hearing like female autistics talking about like there's not a lot of great female autism rep and everything. I was like, well, no. And then I was like, wait, hold on. Yeah, there is and everything. Oh God. And then like BIPOC like people were also saying like not a lot of great representation in there. And I was like, oh God, yeah. And then just kind of like also being aware of like a lot of like neurotypical people, very neurotypical writers just have like kind of like use the same set and everything, or kind of like how they like infantilize us or like have these asshole things and all that. And like when they have like these canon autistic characters, and then just kind of like seeing that, and it very much kind of like being eye-opening and ear-opening and also heart-opening, just to kind of be realizing of like, yeah, it's not just this particular set of things, it's the entire area that needs just like all that and all that. So it very much widened my gaze, and I've very much been writing with the intent of like, hey, I have a platform and everything. I'm going to do my best with writing things, doing the research, making sure I represent things very well and everything, and kind of like putting the spotlight there and everything, and making sure they have their spotlight time and like all that and everything, and not just like hog it or like do kind of like the savior thing, which is always just and like also being aware of when there are certain stories that I myself am not able to tell with my perspective and like background and everything, because I feel like that's something that's always kind of like, it's sort of like a compensating of like, oh God, I want to be able to like help represent and everything and all that, and like do that and tell these stories and everything. But I think it's also important to remember like there are certain stories you just can't tell and everything with like your certain backgrounds and stuff. Like you can help like be vocal and supportive of the person who is like making those set of stories and everything and backing them up and like giving out the advice and like writing and everything. But like being the main for head runner for certain stuff and everything is very much kind of like being aware of like, wait, no, back it up a little bit. Let's put that idea out there to somebody else and everything, and just kind of like be the supportive homie and like the kind of like the defender when some jerkwad tries to do something different to them and everything. So it's like, I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Do you feel that D&D as a medium offers something uniquely welcoming for neurodivergent creators?
Definitely. There is a reason why there are so many like research papers and like therapists out there who've been using like TTRPGs, D&D as a way for like therapy and stuff, and how that's starting to grow and everything, because it gives like a set structure and everything when it comes to like social situations and like all that, because like the world and everything, how it's like this very unpredictable wild magic chaos mess and everything, and you have to be like on your toes and everything. With TTRPGs and D&D, you have these set choices that could lead to certain situations and everything, and the only type of chaos that is involved is within like just with a D20 and all that, or a set of dice that you have, and they can go like in set tiers of like good or bad and everything. And having a DM that also collaborates with you of kind of like, okay, so you're doing this thing. Okay. You failed? Okay. How does that fail for you? How does that fail? So it's very much kind of like giving and also like training as a matter of fact of like, hey, these are sort of like the kind of like the ground structures of like how to comprehend, that's the word, comprehend social structure and everything in a more digestible format. I think that's why I really liked acting as well and everything, because it did give kind of like a nice social structure and was able to kind of like understand like emotions and like reacting and everything. It was a lot better than like having like some para in like a very stuffy small room that was very overly bright and everything, and like having like one of those cards out like, okay, what is this emotion this person is showing? Happy. Yes, that's what it is. Okay.
Gosh.
Yep. It was very, because in my head I was like, I know these things. Why are you talking down to me? I know I'm like 7, but god damn. So yeah, it's like very much just kind of like being able to like play around in an open space, but yet it's like a nice wooden fence of being able to kind of like, all right, here are sort of like the limitations and all, not limitations, here's kind of like here's your boundary line and everything, here's all the space and everything, and if you got questions and structures of set things to do and all that, don't worry, I'm here and we can run through them all. So yeah.
Has your relationship with storytelling changed since building an audience around the name Dice&Autism?
Oh, it has changed so much. It has changed so much. It very much sort of like just like was able to like teach me to like very much pacing myself and very much being able to like think more critically with like my work and stuff and everything, and was able to kind of like self-analyze my stuff as well, to kind of like think about like, okay, here are some things and all that stuff, because like it'd very much be like when starting off with like writing and like anything in general, when people say like, okay, here are some things that you need to work on and stuff, I'll be like, okay, cool, how do you do that? And they'd be kind of like, well, it's sort of like, I don't know, it's just like you just kind of like need to work on that. And it's like, and then I would have like people who would kind of like say these certain things and stuff, and I was like, I would get not angry, I get more annoyed with myself and those things. Like, it's like, crap, that makes so much sense. Why didn't I think of that in the beginning? Why didn't I? So it was like getting more self-aware of like analyzing your own work and being able to like notify yourself to be like, that doesn't work. This kind of works, everything. Let's try to mend this a little bit, drop this and all that. And also being able to be much more time management and project management focus, which is so beneficial when it comes to writing.
All right. What have you learned about community building through narrative?
Ooh, that people just want a safe space to unmask and everything, to just be unmasked and have not the fear to be masking and everything, and just a genuine connection and a genuine community where we're all allowed just to like vent and like just be goobers and just also kind of like talk about our favorite things and kind of like have like these cool conversations and also just be there for each other as well and everything, kind of like one of those like nice community hangouts and everything that you would pop by at like your college place and everything, where there's usually always somebody there hanging out there and stuff. And yeah, because I've always wanted that and everything, and being able to kind of like create that with so many people and their help, it was just like, hells yeah.
Yeah. So let's actually move on to the philosophy of story. What
Ooh.
makes a D&D character memorable?
Ooh. Oh, that's. I think what makes a D&D character memorable is that when you are sort of in a state where you do the things that the characters would do in a healthy way, but also knowing the limit, knowing when to like stop certain impulses of what you know characters would do, and being able to like go with your other players at the table and the DM and saying, hey, character kind of wants to do this and everything. How would you guys react to that and everything? And being able to mend and reform it from the other reactions at the table, in the game, in the players, and from the dices itself and everything. Because if we just had like the characters we had in their head and everything, then you should just be writing your own short story about them and everything. The beauty of TTRPGs provide much, and what makes them so genuine is that the players do have an idea of what they want to go with it and everything. It's just the matter of fact of getting to that end point will generally be a lot different, and they might be an entirely different person. And when they reach that end goal from that journey that character took, they might just reject what they were trying to get and just do or have a different goal they wanted to do.
Nice. I like that. Do you think people are more drawn to the mechanics of a D&D character or to the emotional stakes?
Ooh. I feel like it's always kind of like, I feel like that's always like a hard like 50 and everything. I feel like when you're a starting player or a player that's very much focused on just sort of like the matter of facts of things and all that, you're very much kind of like the mechanics of it all and everything. And with like other people who have just kind of like had a lot more like time under their belt, or very much just kind of like just sort of kind of like have like that crazy free will of like, yeah, this box not good, bam, bulldozer through, let's go through just the vibes and everything. I'm very much a vibes person myself and everything and all that, because there's nothing wrong with like thinking about the mechanics of like what a character would do with their build and their story and everything. But for me and all that, just like I want to like build on the vibe of what the character would want to do with what they would choose and everything. Because like with Kawa and everything, she should be a rogue. She should absolutely be either a rogue or a bard. If she was a rogue slash bard multiclass, the world would be on fire. She would rule the entire universe. But no, she didn't, because she wanted to be a druid. Her mom pushed her to like be a wizard, and she did because she saw she had magical capabilities, but she very much was vibing more with a druid because some of the spells and like the abilities of like the spores druid of like heck yeah, death and everything, and that's like the one con you can't win over is death and everything. So it's that constant reminder, but also having that connection and learning like how to con, how to steal from like her dad and everything. It's also that also thing that she loves as well and everything. And as she said before, she likes herself a challenge and everything. Why would she give herself like the easy route when she could make things funner for herself of doing something that she liked and then learning a set of skills that she wanted to do in the thing that she liked and everything? So yeah.
All right, here's a deep question. If you stripped
Okay.
away the dice,
Hmm.
what remains at the core of the stories you want to tell?
Ooh, like just like playing D&D in general, or like with my stories and everything.
In general.
I feel like it would be very much like it'd be unabashed make-believe play that we did as kids.
Mm.
Because I feel like that's something we've sort of get like shamed, browbeaten, or made fun of as kid growing up and everything. And that like certain people or situations will tell us that you can't do that anymore, or like you are this old and yet you're still doing this, grow up. And I feel like without like the dices and everything, and like with like less of the rules and all that, I feel like we'd be able just to be more unabashedly creative and letting that inner kid still be alive. So yeah.
Yeah. So we have one more set of like
Ooh.
long form questions, and then we have a fun
Yeah.
lightning round.
Yay! Okay.
So, what story are you itching to tell next that we haven't seen yet?
What story? Okay, I do have some set in mind because I am working on like making a supplement for Fighter Saga. If that's always been the dream goal. So I'm starting to building the world and mythos and everything and like the history of it. And as I'm like writing down these history ideas and everything, I'm like, ooh, that'd be kind of like a fun story to do. But I think very much a long arc story I would kind of like to do would be sort of Orleans' mom, more of like Lucia and everything. Because we've got a little bit, we got some of Haben. We just did like with Yiga, with Belby's dad and everything, which I was already excited to do and everything because Yiga, like being a deadbeat dad that he is and everything, I was like, all right, I want to give reasons why he's deadbeat, but also not give him sort of redemption arc. Like he's made his own bed. He realized that he made his own bed, but he's so goddamn determined of the bed that he's made that he's going to die in that bed and everything. So with like Lucia, I sort of want to like explore that and also kind of like build the bridges of like why Yiga and Lucia are such great friends and everything. Because with like Yiga's past and everything, you do see how Yiga very much has that respect towards Lucia and everything. And I want to like develop that and kind of like showcase what was like the cases for all that. So that would be something that I would really want to do. And I would also really want to do with like the first empress of like Odalisque, with like the Razir Empire and all that, because I was like developing of like how the Razir Empire was formed and everything, and like going through of like all like the emperors and everything, because there have been like 12 generations of them and everything. And I was just like, ooh, because I've had hinted before of like ideas and all that, and I'm just like, oh wait, hold up, yes, okay, ooh, so I'm very excited with that.
If you could give one piece of advice to aspiring D&D storytellers, what would it be?
Don't be afraid to goof. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Perfection is not the dream. It is very much, I don't want to say a poison. It's like bad alcohol. It's like really, really crappy box wine alcohol. Like, yeah, you gotta like you get the buzz and like the nice comfortability of like, hey, I'm a little drunk, a little tipsy, feeling kind of loosey goosey, but it also tastes like bleh. And it's like you're kind of also restricting yourself and everything. And I'm not saying to like go ahead and like buy like the expensive stuff and everything. It's like it's more the fact of like you don't need to be restricted of this goal of perfection, because that just adds more pressure, and you're never going to be able to do something if you keep getting drunk on that perfection that you want to do and get for your project.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Last long form question. What does success look like for you in the content creation, or sorry, not in the content, not just in content creation space, but what does it look like for you in the D&D space?
I think very much so of people just saying, hey, this made my day. Hey, this is hilarious. Hey, this made me cry. And just seeing people react, comment, and like have discussions and everything. That is the meat and potatoes. That is what makes me feel whole and everything. It's not money. It's not like fame or anything. It's just like seeing people react and have like these great reactions to the things that I make and everything. That is the main goal.
All right. Before we wrap up, quick fire round.
Hells yeah.
First answer that comes to mind. So, first one, favorite class to role play.
Fighters.
Most misunderstood D&D class.
I know you said fire, but I got two in my head right now. I got two in my head. Ranger and Warlock. Ranger and Warlock.
Okay. Character you'd actually be terrible at playing.
What?
So for context, I've had a character that I was really, really bad at playing.
Okay.
It was a barbarian because of the whole the limited perspective of the barbarians being all rangy and all that. I am not that type of person IRL, and I wasn't sure how to convey that.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. Could you repeat the question? I couldn't hear you before.
Yeah, you'd actually be terrible at playing.
Oh, character I would actually be terrible at playing. Oh, cleric.
Right. Fair.
I would be sassing my god so much if I see something in their convictions. I'd just be like, "Hey, what the hell, man?" And I'd just be like, "You lose your powers." No.
One spell you wish existed in real life.
Oh, prestidigitation.
Oh my gosh.
It's either that or Mage Hand. I'm like, yeah, it's like Mage Hand, yes, but prestidigitation, able to clean things up a little bit, including yourself. Like if I'm having a bad depresso like week and everything, and I'm just like, I need to get out in a little bit, bam, magic shower, just like clean everything. It's like, okay, I look somewhat functional. Go.
I would have said like color spray, but I'd be like, just go grab some spray paint.
Yeah.
Nat 20 on persuasion or nat 20 on insight?
Insight.
Tragic backstory or chaotic goblin energy?
I gotta go with tragic backstories. I have to go with tragic backstories.
NPC you accidentally made too powerful.
Oh, actually, NPC that I actually made too powerful. Okay. Uh, I don't know if I've had that happen. I mean, I've had one of my players capture a god before, and I was like, wait, no, hold up. Wait, no, hold up. So I guess that sort of like falls into it and everything. Shout out to new Rollis and everything with Mila like using her wish and everything to capture Jin, the god of chaos. Oh god.
Funny story for me. Technically not an NPC that did this, but one of my players who was a paladin fighter multi-class.
Yeah.
He encountered a god.
Mm.
It was Hector, whatever his name was.
Yeah.
My player, he had a soul coin.
Oh no! 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 Did he Pokemon him? Oh no! Did they roll like terribly? What happened?
No, they rolled really well. They had like natural 20s.
Damn!
What is a trope you secretly love?
What is a trope I secretly love? Oh god. Disaster lesbians. I'm sorry. I like that seems to be a trope. I usually write with when I do like femme presenting characters and everything, who are just kind of like the disaster lesbians or the disaster romantic of kind of like, oh hey, that person I really like. Ha! I just can't help it. It's something I relate to very deeply. So it's like
All right. This question was originally written as a trope you're ready to retire, but like, what's a trope you really despise?
Evil for the sake of being evil.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I know you're evil and everything, but at least like tell me one reason why you're evil and everything, not just because I want to be. It's like, okay, no, who taught you this? Who did this? Just give me a little C to be like, all right, cool, that, okay, cool. Now I kill you.
What is one word that describes the fighter?
Ooh. Forgiveness.
All right. One word that describes Pact of the Father.
Yourself.
Dice jail, real or superstition?
I feel it's real. It's real. It's real. Look. I know people are like they're just dices and everything, but look, it's there for a reason and everything, and it's also a reason why the dice jail has this like kinkier sibling of like the cuck chair and everything. When you're just like putting it on like the thing. Shout out to Run DMG for that and everything. But that's how I first heard it and everything. And I was just like, actually, that's hilarious. Goddamn. But no, you gotta like punish your dices for a reason. Otherwise, they're never going to learn.
You gotta charge your dice first.
No, that I don't believe. I feel like you're just wasting it and everything. It's like you're just telling the fates and the world, be like, oh, you want a nat 20? Okay, cool. Never getting a higher than a 10.
All right. Homebrew or rules as written?
Homebrew.
Oh, yeah. Hardest emotion to write?
Hardest emotion to write? Fear.
Fear. Interesting.
Yeah.
Funniest comment you've ever received?
Okay, I'm gonna cheat a little bit. I did do a D&D skit of like having like a player like somehow finding the deck of many things after like looting around and everything, and like I had like the DM of the skit just say like, oh yeah, just roll me like a D100 and things you get, and like I had like I've written down of like, oh hey, I rolled 3 zeros and everything. And everything. It was like, you know, like you get like the double, you get the 10 It was like just a double zero, and there's like the
The
singular zero.
hundo.
Yeah, but everybody in the goddamn green earth was like, well, actually, it's actually 100, actually this, and actually that, and I'm just like, and I would have like full out wars going on in like comment sections of being like debates of like it was like a Greek debate and everything. I've had to like tell a person who was like hounding this one person who was just like asking everything to be like, oi, knock it off. So it's like they were all attached to this one throwaway bit. I was not like trying to say and everything, because that was sort of like the point of like, hey, it's a zero. They rolled a zero. Wow. I was like, I was also trying to figure out like, did I do something wrong to make people think that this was important somehow? It was like, is this how Matthew Mercer felt like when everybody from Vox Machina was like just like figuring out the chair and everything, and then Chetney coming in of like, yeah, I was part of the Lexington Toy Academy and everything, and doing the throwaway bit of like, I used to make chairs all the time and everything, and they just get shipped off to this one place. It's like, is that how that feels?
No, really, the only way to roll a zero is to have a negative modifier, or it's worse than a natural one, a zero.
Yeah, I was just like, guys, it's a goddamn joke, and it's not a joke that needs to be analyzed like this. Cool your heads, please.
If one of your characters had a theme song, what genre would it be?
Oh. I would probably say that with Villa, it would definitely be sort of like pop punk. It'd be kind of like that skater pop punk, and also sometimes also a little bit of ska as well, which ska punk is a great genre and everything. I will fight tooth and nail. Ska is great.
I'll have to listen to ska because I haven't had listen a lick of it, but I will need to.
Yeah, it's fun. I love hearing the horns. I love hearing horn music and like the sounds of like guitars being played as well. It's so good. It's so good. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. This type of interviews, the fun type of interviews. Like, yeah, we're learning about other people, but it's fun. But it's the fun.
Yeah.
Long campaign or one shot?
Gotta go with long campaigns. Like one shots are good and everything, but like, come on, like you gotta have a full course meal.
Oh, of course. Villain monologue or silent menace?
Villain monologue. Like we all want a villain. We all want to do villain monologues. We all want to do villain monologues. I don't care if it's overused or if your players like do things to interrupt in the middle of it and everything. It's just fun to do.
Yeah.
Like let yourself have a villain monologue.
Yes. What hits harder, betrayal or sacrifice?
Sacrifice. Because there's nothing you can do with a sacrifice. Betrayals, you can do something. Sacrifices, you can't do anything about it.
If your creative process had a dice type, which die is it?
That's... Now, personally... Now, personally, if I was going through my heart and everything, I would hope it would be a D12 because I really do love D12s and everything. I feel like they're the most underutilized dices when it comes to D&D. And the fact that there's only a handful of times that the D12s can be used in the game if you're not a barbarian and not having like a great axe, like I wish there were other weapons that could use the D12s or spells that use D12s as well and everything. Like, really, really cool. But logistically thinking and all that, it would probably be like a D100 with like it reflected with my storytelling of being kind of like, spin the wheel. Kronk, what do we got here today? Oh, we're doing that. Okay, let's see what we got here.
One more thing. Do you have a D20 on you right now?
Yes, I do.
All right. I want you to roll me one right now.
Okay. God. Okay. Please don't. I don't even know if I want
I'll
higher
give you
roll.
advantage.
Advantage? Okay. Okay. If that's the case, okay. If I'm getting advantage, I need to get my dices I use for my games and everything. Yeah. Okay. Shout out to Sword Forge and everything. If I can open it at least. All right. There we go. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. You know what? Okay. Well, you gotta go with the Trans Pride dice for the first one, and in the Galaxy one. Yeah. Okay. All right. Here we go. Advantage. All right, bam. Oh. Okay. Oh, 20.
No way!
Look at. Okay. Look. Okay. There we go. Look at that.
Oh my gosh.
On the Trans Pride dice as well and everything.
Yeah.
Protect the dolls.
Yeah. So, since you got a nat 20,
Okay.
what does that mean for your next project?
Did you have like a whole like list of like question? I see what you did there. What does that mean for my next project and everything? Like I think like my next project, it's like finally taking the steps of things that I've always wanted to do, and like not and having that voice in the head of like, yeah, probably not. We don't have like the time or resources for it and everything, and always like keep moving the goalposts and due date. And now it's very much like, hey, time to stop beating around the bush. Let's do it. So that's just more kind of like the sign of like, you got this.
Well, thank you so much for taking
of
the time
course.
to sit down.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, where can people find you to view your
All right. Hello there, everybody. My name is Dice&Autism. I tell stories in it. You guys can follow me on YouTube, where I've been doing most of my stuff and everything. I've moved away from TikTok since it's a little bit of a hellscape and everything and all that, but my channel is still on there and everything. I haven't deleted it and everything on there. I am also on like Instagram, Threads, and all that. I do have a Twitch where I do stream like playing video games and stuff and everything. I do also have an actual play called New Rollis. It is a 1920 kind of like gang warfare in and everything. We are in the final arc and stages of the whole campaign in general. And if you want to like catch up and everything, and also check out other cool actual plays that we've done with like the cast of like with New Rollis, there is a channel that we have called Tales Guild and everything. We have shows like Tales of Ages that's run by B Does D&D. We have Hero U that is run by Sequo. We also have a whole bunch of other one-shots that Attack of Morgan have run. We have charity one-shots from other players and everything. We also have like some mini-series that Hans Kate did for Roll for Wishes and everything, with our whole mini Candela Obscura stuff and everything, and just a whole bunch of crazy cool stuff we got on there and everything. So please check out Tales Guild as well.
Absolutely. If you guys enjoyed this conversation, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow the series for more interviews with creators across voice acting, storytelling, gaming, and beyond. Thank you all for watching Voices and Visions. I'm Jill Graves, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!
Bye!